We're going to start with Kirk Cousins, the man, the guy with the shirt off, the guy with the chains, the nerdiest badass you've ever seen in your life, man. All right, so Kirk Cousins now, all right, was on the Vikings last year with Minnesota. This year, he's coming to the Atlanta Falcons. Now, we didn't get a full season of Kirk Cousins last year. He only played 8 games after an Achilles tear. Very scary injury. So we're going to be talking about that and how good we feel about that, or if it gives us a little hesitation with Kirk Cousins. But last year, only playing 8 games, he finished as the QB 24. This year with the Falcons, he is currently the QB 18 off the board, 112 ADP. Frankie, talk to me about Kirk Cousins and what we're going to be doing with this guy.
John, I hope Kirk Cousins' first purchase is going to be some grills here, man. I want him to look frosty. I want to see the chains rocking out in ATL, baby. You know why? Because he signed a 4-year, $180 million deal with 100 guaranteed, baby, and playing in that of Atlanta. Paid, John. Make it rain, baby. John, you mentioned it. Kirk Cousins only played for 8 games last year. But what was incredible about Kirk Cousins was he was actually on pace to not only lead the league in passing yards, but he was also on pace to lead the league in touchdown to interception ratio. John, he threw for 2,300 yards. It was actually 2,331 yards last year, 18 touchdowns and 5 interceptions in 8 games. A really good comparison here is that against that of Desmond Ritter, right? When we look at, okay, well, what did Kirk Cousins do in the 8 games that he had in Minnesota versus what Desmond Ritter, right, the starting quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons last year did? Desmond Ritter in 15 games, John, had a little over 2,800 passing yards, 12 passing touchdowns, 12 interceptions with a passer rating of 83.4. Again, I mentioned Kirk Cousins with the stats that he had, but he had a passer rating of 103.8. Now, again, they're different players. Kirk Cousins has more experience in the NFL. But what this is telling me, man, is that ATL got their QB. They're ready to rock and roll. And for me, man, what I see happening here in the future is this is absolutely going to look to skyrocket the other players on the Atlanta team in comparison to what we've seen last year. So when we look at, okay, well, what happened within the situation over at Minnesota, John? Kirk Cousins, what he did really well last year was he got JJ involved early and often. Jordan Addison was a superstar while that of Kirk Cousins there, but nobody talks about the implications of that of TJ Hawkinson. Kirk Cousins made TJ Hawkinson during that 8 games go crazy. And yes, TJ Hawkinson became the cozy blanket after that for a lot of the other players like that of Josh Dobbs, Jaron Hall, right? Some of these other cats that were coming in and playing at quarterback, but it wasn't to the Kirk Cousins level. So John, let's transition into that of he's on ATL now, right? So what do we got looking here? For me, man, I think that this is going to elevate Bijan above anything that we have seen last year. Outside of Arthur Smith being gone in Atlanta, you bring in Raheem Morris, right? Absolutely badass coach. I loved that hire. And now you have Bijan Robinson, who they came out and said is going to be used like CMC. Check downs all the way to that from Kirk Cousins to that of Bijan. And then you look at that of Drake London, man. And I think this is the year, John, we are going to see Drake London become a bona fide number 1 superstar receiver. I think he is capable, number 1, from an athletic standpoint, but now he is a QB that can get him the rock. What are your thoughts, man?
Well, I mean, we saw flashes of Drake London last year, and we know he can do it. I mean, we saw some flashes, man. I mean, he was a guy you and I were very high on last year as well. We did a Would You Rather. We both wanted to have Drake London on our teams, and I did draft a Drake London, and there were a couple of games where it really worked out. The consistency wasn't there, and that was clearly quarterback play. Yeah, and obviously this year, there's a lot of hype on Drake London, and it's because of Kirk Cousins. And we've seen him support multiple receivers in the past, and they've got a bona fide number 1. I really like Drake London. Now, all of this is assuming that Kirk Cousins is healthy and is going to be back to action exactly the way he was. Luckily, not a mobile quarterback at all.
No.
So that's not bad. But what effect is this going to have on his footwork? What effect is this going to have planting? Remains to be seen. But assuming all camp, reports everything looks good with Kirk Cousins, Drake London shoots way up my board. I think he's an absolute breakout candidate that could be a potential steal in the draft, in your fantasy football drafts. Now, what you were saying about Bijan, yeah, man. I mean, gold. I mean, this could be just craziness for Bijan. You're right. I mean, it's something that this is a player that has the skill sets of CMC and Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
I mean, for real. So being able to see what he could do, yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. And I know you're taking him pretty much at a ceiling. He's running back 2?
Yeah.
Running back 3, arguably. So you're paying for him. You're getting that as ceiling. But, we've seen those kind of running backs like a CMC, like a Saquon, like a Derrick Henry, where they just live up there. They got there immediately in that first round, and they've been there for almost a decade now,
And John, the other guy too that I wasn't even thinking about is Kyle Pitts, right? What a guy you know what I mean? Like this has been
when you were talking about TJ Hawkinson, I'm going, oh, Jesus Christ. Now I know where you're going with this.
Yeah.
Here we go with the Kyle Pitts talk. Are we really, what do we do? Let's stop. Let's be serious now.
Let's do it.
Okay. Quit it. What the fuck are we doing with Kyle Pitts? Okay. He's a guy nobody wants to draft because we've all fell in the pit of Kyle Pitts. Where it's just the most athletic, talented tight end that we've ever seen drafted, ever. And we just haven't seen it on the field at all. I mean, not a startable fantasy asset. So now he's got a quarterback. Are we all going to fall for this again? What's going to happen?
I am. I'm jumping on board, John. If he's sitting there at 7 or 8 and I already have 2 established running backs, 3 established running backs, 3 established receivers, and Kyle Pitts is there, I'm definitely jumping on that board or that bandwagon and going for him, man. I think that what we've seen from Kirk Cousins and his ability to get the rock to Logan Thomas when he was there in Washington, when he was there for the Vikings with that of TJ Hawkinson, and even before Hawkinson, the tight ends there, Kirk Cousins has done a very good job. So for me, man, not only is he going to get Kyle Pitts going in the right direction, not only is Arthur Smith's shitbag ass gone and going to be able to use Kyle Pitts in the correct ways, now they're saying Kyle Pitts is going to be running routes at receiver, splitting time at receiver with that of tight end. John, I'm jumping on the hype train, baby. I'm all about it. I'm ready to be miserable as fuck all year because I'm going to be drafting Kyle Pitts in the 7th or 8th round this year.
I mean, he's going right now. The ECR for him is tight end 7.
Yep.
You feel good about that? Do you think that's about where he should be? You think the risk is not as high because he's tight end 7?
I do. Because I mean, we think about the mock drafts that we've done and honestly, the stats that we've seen, John. You're going to have to go for Sam Laporta and Kelsey early. They're off the board. So now you got 3rd tight end there. It could be anywhere from George Kittle for those that really like Kittle. Could be anywhere from Trey McBride. It could be Mark Andrews, right? And then really, John, there's then this other group that's Evan Ingram. There's David Njoku. And then really, so Kyle Pitts kind of fits in the in-between. I think this is where you can actually get value for Kyle Pitts and not have to technically play the tight end game. And I know I sound like last year and the year before and all this fucking crazy shit. I'm with you. But I'm telling you, man, like this is, if Kirk Cousins is healthy, this, like to your point, let's caveat in the fact that he is healthy and ready to rock and roll.
Yes.
I'm ready to draft Kyle Pitts. If Kirk Cousins and everything is coming out that Michael Penix might be there, Michael Penix is a guy that's going to be taking the first few games or maybe, something like that, then you know what? No, I'm not going to be drafting Kyle Pitts. I'm going to go for another receiver, another running back at that point in time, and then playing the tight end carousel on the back end. But I just think I just got a little something in there, man, in my soul that's screaming, go get you some Kyle Pitts. Go get him.
Yeah. I think that's called gas, Frankie. That's what you're feeling in your soul right now. It's in your stomach. But
probably.
The point is, you're right, though. It's not a huge risk. It's tight end 7, and it's also a tight end. Mm-hmm. You're not taking him in the first couple of rounds. Right. You're not anchoring your team with him. So if it doesn't pan out, don't fuck around. Stream tight end at that point. But, I mean, he did finish as a tight end 13. He finished outside of a starter last year. So
pretty bad.
I guess there's nowhere really to go but up. And with Kirk Cousins, he has to go up. He has to.
I mean, I'll tell you where Kirk Cousins is going to go. He's going to go shopping at Kohl's here pretty soon. That's where he's going to be going, John.
I hope he does buy some ice, man. I want to see him just draped with
Just
shit.
decked
I
out.
love it. Totally decked out. Totally decked out.